Hi guys, it's Dr. Liz with Dr. Liz Coaching here, and how are you guys doing? I want to thank you again for dropping back in. And today I'm going to talk about, or right now I'm going to talk about 7 questions that tend to keep us up at night, or keep up a lot of the ladies that I work with. And I polled some of my folks that are definitely way past the baby stage and said, hey, what were some of the questions, what were some of the worries or concerns that you had that was keeping you apart or keeping you up at night, having you not really thrilled about stepping into sex or intimacy with your hubby, their partner. And here's what they came up with. Okay, question number one that kept lots of ladies up at night. So what if I think I'm ready for sex, but I'm still worried about the pain? So how does that, like, I think, the doctor's I'm gonna have my 6 week checkup kind of thing, and I think I'm gonna be ready for it. Or I'm 8 weeks out, and I think I'm gonna be ready. But to tell you the truth, I'm worried about the pain. All right, it's real. You guys just went through a very physical experience delivering the baby or babies. Maybe it's your first time around, maybe it's your second, your third, your fifth, but you know that that is a very, very all encompassing journey from the time you get pregnant until the time that you push them out or they get carried out, type of thing. I had one of each. So I kind of, I guess I just have to experience both worlds, right? So for some ladies, when they've had an episiotomy, um, there was a very real concern, or there's a very worried concern that that's going to be tender, or maybe that I've had hemorrhoids, and you know when pressure and sensitivity is there. If I've had a long day on my feet, my hemorrhoids come back out, or they hurt, or I can still feel that surgical site called episiotomy, you know. Um, and I'm worried if we're having intercourse, what's that gonna do? Or had something like I was afraid it would reopen that and then I'd be like bleeding out. Well, the reality is everyone heals differently. Everybody's birthing experience and the surgical team's expertise in the healing is different. So for many of us, that discomfort may last for months or longer after delivery. So really what I do is I tell folks it's not about just jumping in and picking up right where we left off. This has been a life-changing event for both of you. And not only may you be worried about the pain, odds are your sweetheart is also worried about that pain. They're worried about hurting you. They don't know if their thrusting is going to be too hard, too soft. It's different. So, first caveat, first strategy is take it slow, take it easy. Don't try to set up expectations that just going to be, we, we used to do X, Y, or Z, and you're going to start off on it right away. Um, you'll want to set the time. This is hard with little ones and all sorts of feeding schedules up, but you want to set a time when you won't feel rushed. Neither of you will feel rushed, um, so that you can talk through it. You can get some of the tension and anxiety down, so that when you do have intercourse, you'll be in a better frame of mind as well. All right. If you're not sure that you want to have intercourse, or you're worried about it, first let's start off with just some oral sex or some manual stimulation, some self masturbation. Ask your partner to avoid certain parts of your genitals, avoid the vagina if it's sore, avoid the perineum if it's sore. You have a voice in there, and they're going to be really happy that you're showing them or you're telling them, because again, Very few of them want to unknowingly hurt or cause more damage. And that's where I had some men say, no, I'm not going to do that until she tells me she's ready. And I get like almost like a doctor's note. um, Other times when we're talking to the folks is that a position that worked before might need to be different. Maybe you want to be on top where you can control the depth of the penetration. Maybe you want to start off very slow or start with using just fingers to touch and see how sensitive the different areas are. By all means, use lubrication. Use it, okay? Go wild with it. All right. If you've had a C-section, um, you might want to consider when you make love doing it side by side, so there's no pressure on you. Um, they aren't laying on you and putting pressure and squeezing, or with the movement of the intercourse. And don't be afraid, or use your voice and say, hey, all right, let's try something else. We got to switch. It's also okay to say, I thought I was ready, but I need to wait. Right? I need to wait. I need to wait. That's okay too. Again, using lubricant, use your voice. Let them know when something feels good. Let them know when it doesn't. Let them know when we need to stop or change. It's all okay. This is a mutual period together. And if you find that the sex is still really painful, or you're too worried, then absolutely talking to someone like myself, or a sex therapist, or the pelvic rehab, a physical therapist, is huge, huge, huge. And I know that inside this group, Julie Dimmers is there and helps so much with the pelvic floor. She's a physical therapist, so you have questions, reach out to her, right? Don't want you going away with these questions that keep you up at night, or doing things that really do hurt you, but you keep yourself quiet because you don't want to upset anybody. Okay? Question number 2 or so is, when will my vagina be back to normal? Okay. Is that a myth that it just gets stretched out? No, it's not a myth. It does, your vaginal walls do need to expand, and they will be stretched out to allow the baby to get out, right? Or if you had C-section, all right, maybe it will not have been stretched out. We'll get to C-section stuff later. But your vagina is going to stretch out. But guess what? It does shrink. It does regain muscle tone. And the amount of times that you deliver a baby, your genetics, your body's healing, the size of the baby, how many kids you've had, whether you've had Kegel exercises or pelvic physical therapy, all those things come into play. All right. So whether it goes back to its original pristine, out of the box, pre-baby, we don't know. Does that impact the quality of the sex life and things? Probably not. You'll just figure out there might be different positions, there might be different levels of stimulation. We figured out, we worked through it. And that is also a big question when you think, well, my vagina come back more? Believe me, in the circles of the guys, they're asking themselves, is this going to impact the quality of our sex? Will will I be able to feel her? Will she be able to feel me? A lot of it's for the guys, like, will she be able to feel me, my erection? Will I still be able to stimulate it? And the answer is yes. We just work on it. How many of you guys might be breastfeeding? Because breastfeeding does impact sex life, right? When we have the hormone prolactin, it's boosted, by nursing. It's there to stimulate the milk production, but guess what? It dampens our libido. All right, it absolutely, on a hormonal level, dampens our libido. I don't know about any of you guys, but absolutely, when I was breastfeeding, and just brush up against nipples and felt like a doggone milk cow type thing. That dampened my libido. So we got the hormone prolactin going on there. It's natural. It's normal that it can dampen it, but it doesn't have to wipe it out, right? Um, when you are also looking at having intercourse or something, many women also say, I'm not as lubricated as when I was pregnant or when I even before babies, right? Some of it's stress, some of it's fatigue. But guess what? Some of it is the lower levels of estrogen. And that happens while you're nursing because the prolactin going up there. So double whammy, dry vagina, less interest in sex. Use a lubricant, right? Get some rest. It's going to help you. I always wonder, what did they use consistently before we had all these beautiful things? But make sure you guys water-based, and I'm sure Samantha's got a whole realm of information, but and your doctors too. But make sure it's water-based. You don't want to break down a condom if you're using a condom for birth control as well. And breastfeeding and breasts, well, they're not always going to feel as interested in being stimulated. They may not feel like the erogenous zone the way they did before. Sometimes they can be too tender. You've been bit on, or the baby's been sucking on you for so long, or you've been pumping, even if you're just pumping and you're not in your bottle feeding. These things have been working. And so also in people's minds, sometimes they go into the breasts are now a function. I am delivering food for my baby. This is not a toy area anymore. So our minds can, address that as well. So if you're sore, if you're tired, if it's too tender, let your sweetheart know, right? Let them know. Oh, here's a side note too. Breasts, good old breasts. If we're breastfeeding, sometimes during climax, when we're having an orgasm, women discover that they have that letdown, their breast leak, or even spray milk. That's normal. All right, it's nothing wrong with you. Keep going. Maybe plan for it. Maybe wear a sexy bra if you want, because sometimes they're so heavy or so full, it hurts to have them be free. But just know that you may have some breast milk going out. If it's a turn off for you, if it's a turn off for your spouse or hubby, you might want to nurse or pump your breasts, empty it out before having sex. But it's normal, all right? So go free. Another thing that keeps people up is like, okay, I had one baby. Maybe this is really bad. We need to think about, but I'm more thinking about, I want no more kids right now. I do not want a child right now. So what are your options for birth control? Don't wonder about it. Don't put it off again. And it's not absolute truth that if you're nursing, you aren't fertile. You can give birth and can start ovulating again at any particular time. So if getting pregnant again is a concern, would be for many people, use the condoms, talk to your doctor. There are so many different types of reliable birth control that's going to be personally designed for you, your values, your life, your spouse's life, okay? Right. Now we start getting a little bit more into my area of things, is how is having a new baby in our life, how is it going to change our feelings about each other? I like the psychology behind some of this stuff, and I'm talking to you folks. I said, they worried about how did the baby change their feelings about each other? Was I just going to look at my husband and say, oh, he's the daddy, he's the sperm donor, he's the whatever, or were they going to see me as the frumpy mom who gave birth, is no longer sexy and vibrant and that really spicy gal? Right? So for some folks, some couples, the intensity of the bond that you're developing with your new baby, right, does impact your relationship with your spouse. You're giving so much physically and emotionally and literally to the baby, that there is less emotional time or less band space, as well as there's less physical time. And so, for many people, like, I just don't have the time and interest to go, like, okay, tell me how I went to work, because I've got a screaming baby that got colic, just fed them. It's dinner time. They come through the door. My husband comes to the door, and they want me to, listen to them and go, oh, that's bad, and oh, here, let me get dinner started, and then we can talk more. I got this baby, all right. So it's if you're trying to help that kind of thing. Um, or others like, I'm so exhausted. I put the baby down and I fell asleep with them. Or I nurse in bed, so I take the baby in there, and there's no room, for the hubby to really easily sit there. So it's normal, it's to be expected that some partners, some spouses feel jealous, or they feel intimidated by the relationship with the baby, and they feel guilty and horrible for even having those feelings. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Take these questions, guys, and share them with your spouse. Share them with your partner about, you may feel jealous, or you may feel left out or intimidated. And so let's talk about that. And then let's find ways to make reassurances that you love. So if I'm here, like, honey, I love you so much right now, and I really want to hear you, but oh, my Courtney, first one. Courtney is got so much colic, I can't pay attention to her and you at the same time. All right, you're important, but right now is not a great time. So, also helpful, they need to bond with the baby. So you don't have to do all of it. Let's get them some good, rewarding, warm connections. So parenthood can feel rewarding for both of you guys. Okay. How can we find the time for sex with a baby around? Big, big question. People ask me all the time. Right? You may not like this, but sometimes I say schedule it. If you get a kid that's on a good schedule of sleep and wake, you guys might say, as unsexy as it is, it may be, hey, Saturday morning, I'll have had some time and rest, but Saturday morning, she always wakes up for her meal at 5, and she's to bed by 6-ish. Why don't we wake up and have sex then? Because she's going to be back up at 10, and then we have all the other stuff, and we aren't going to have time to try to be intimate with each other. Right? If you are like me, like first mommy, it was like, oh, my ear was always listening for the baby, so I'm distracted. Part of my head is here in the game, and part of mine is on the monitor. We didn't have the camera ones, we just had the audio ones. And so that may be recognizing that you're going to be distracted, knowing and talking yourself through so that they're okay, and you can devote 15 minutes, half an hour, however long. Or maybe you find someone to watch the baby, your parents, family member, or something, and so they babysit, and you say, hey, I just need some time to rest, some time to connect, and then the two of you can have some uninterrupted you and me time. And guess what? Yes, babies and then toddlers, when they have legs, will interrupt you at the most inconvenient times. And then there's teenagers that walk in and like, oh, what? So yes, from now going forth, you will get interrupted in the bedroom, and that's okay. Keep your sense of humor, be patient, know how to cover up, and things will get a lot better when the baby starts sleeping through the night. But again, then they get legs, and then they know how to turn doorknobs. And surprise, they're in there with you. And finally, questions that come up is, how can I keep intimacy alive if I'm not ready for sex? So again, guys, this is about you being honest with yourself, you being honest with your partner. And intimacy is, I like to keep the word intimacy because it's more in the brain than just the physical act. All right. So kiss, cuddle. You can even have the baby there. They bring the nurse and stuff like that, and you get to snuggle or spoon with each other for a few moments. That's part of it. It could be talking about how proud the two of you are of having the baby. That's intimacy. Put the baby away. Maybe you're late in there and you can't really reach your feet, or your feet are tired. You can say, "Can I get a massage or foot rub?" Let your partner, your spouse know that you appreciate the affection. I love when you hold my hand. I love when you stroke my hair. Give them a kiss, whisper in the ear. You know, even if it's an hey, you're an awesome dad. You're a sexy dad. You're a sexy mom. All right. So the mental part of it, the sexual intimacy, does need to be a priority. It really is something that gets to bubble up on the to-do list. It doesn't have to be forced. It doesn't. It should not be painful. But we do need to cut. Remember, we brought the baby into the world. We're going to need to cut some of this time out, and that may mean turn off some of the distractions. Turn off the computer, the video games, the TV, the cell phones. Making Getting rid of some of those distractions. So up it goes, right? And finally, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. I know so many men that say, I think my wife is sexy. She's sexy as hell. She's hot. She's hotter than she ever was. And the wives are thinking, I'm a peed on, pooped on mess. I'm all flabby. My belly's, I got the scar. I am not sexy. They do not think of me as sexy. So we need to get in touch with us, our sexual self-esteem, how we feel about ourselves. Even if it's a new pajama, or wash your hair, or a little haircut kind of thing. Getting some time just yourself. So you are not just an extension of your child is super, super part. And guys, this is another ladies, make sure you share with them. Have them do chore play. It's the new foreplay. Have them pitch in. Have them help you get things done around the house so you have more free energy for a nap and then to be intimate again. Okay. So if you don't use it, you lose it. That's true. You need to keep getting back in there and starting off with the non-physical stuff. I mean, the non-intercourse stuff, really allowing each of you to start touching and connecting and cuddling. Okay. DM me, drop your comments in here, and I'll be more than happy. But here's a top what keeps you up at night questions from my clients and from my own personal experiences. So take care. Talk to you soon. Bye bye.